In today's video, we're going to be painting up a Thri-Kreen from the Dungeons & Dragons WizKids range. Okay, so to start off with our Thri-Kreen here, with our paint job, we're going to start off using some lava orange. And we're going to be using the lava orange to be painting up all of our Thri-Kreen's chitinous exterior. So it's all across the legs, the arms. Now, you want to be a little bit careful. He does have some straps across his body as well as some armor pieces. So just trying to get in all the areas that are like the main bug exterior we want in this lava orange. So it's being careful as you can. Although in this step you don't have to be super careful. I'd try to keep it reasonably as neat as possible, just so that when I come over with the next paint, it's a little bit easier than having to paint over everything. But by all means, if you're one of those people who just wants to paint the whole thing one color first and then slowly add on the colors, go right ahead for it. But for me, I try to keep it as separate as I can. It's also just good practice for me for when it comes to the detailed parts and other areas when we're painting on other things, just to get that little bit more practice in with separating out your areas of color. So now we have the base of the Thri-Kreen painted up. What we're going to do is we're going to move on with demonic yellow. I'm going to be using the demonic yellow to be painting up the little loincloth that our Thri-Kreen has on him here. So you can just see here that he has himself a little loincloth basically that we're going to be painting up with the demonic yellow. So he also has this on both sides, so don't forget to do it on the back as well, and just be careful not to paint over the areas we've already painted. But if you have, it's not too hard, just wait for it to dry and then come back in it with the original lava orange. Now once that is dry, what we're going to do is we're going to move on with some detailed parts here, and we're going to use leather brown to do this. And what I mean is, with the leather brown, we're going to come in and we're going to paint all the little leather straps on the Thri-Kreen I was just telling you about beforehand that you may have painted over with the lava orange. So just coming in with a smaller detail brush if you need to, or just get that really nice point on the tip of your brush, and you just want to drag it across the top so it just catches the area that we want. It's a little bit hard to see here. I'm trying to get it in focus as much as I can. You see there we go. That I'm just very lightly tapping it on with the tip of my brush and then dragging it up to get that paint on there. So once we've completed with that, what we're going to do now is we're going to come in with an oak brown. I'm going to be using the oak brown to just paint up the long staff with the blades on it that our Thri-Kreen has. So of course just being a little bit careful when you're trying to paint the back side of the staff to try and not hit anywhere that you've already painted up. It can be a little bit difficult. So just come in with a nice steady hand as much as you can. Or if you need to, just do what I'm doing here, which is just place it from a different angle so you can really get in there onto both sides. So now with our staff complete, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming in with Tinny tin from Vallejo, and I'm going to be using this to paint up the shuriken style blades, I guess you call them, that the Thri-Kreen has holding in his smaller arms, just below his main arms here. I'm going to be painting them up with the Tinny tin, as well as I'm also going to be using the Tinny tin to paint up the shoulder armor that the Thri-Kreen has on him as well. And also don't forget to get the backside of these shuriken. It can be, are they shuriken? I'm not exactly 100% sure, but get the backside of these two. It can be a little difficult, especially since they're so close to the body, trying to get every point of it. But just be as steady as you can, take your time, and you'll be able to get in there. And then of course just going in, like I said, on the armor pieces as well. Now once all that paint is dry, what we're going to do is we're going to come in with Vallejo khaki now, and we're going to be using the khaki color to be painting up the tips of the claws of our Thri-Kreen. So just a little bit you can see here, and also don't forget to do them on his lower arms as well. You can see them there. And we also want to just be as steady as we can, try not to paint over everything we already have. I know it can be a little bit difficult, but just go as slow as you need to. Don't rush this, or see how I'm doing here is I'm just sort of tapping. I've got my brush filled with paint and I'm just more tapping it on than actually putting in a proper brush stroke. And then with the khaki colour we also want to do the little mandibles on the front of our Thri-Kreen as well. Just being careful not to go too far up the face. It is actually sculpted in there, the little mandibles, so I'm just trying to get them as much as I can. And you can see by the pose it's reasonably difficult to get into. Now we have that complete, what we're going to do is we're going to come in with plate mail metal now, and we're going to be using this to just paint up the ends of our blades, of the main blades, as well as there's just a little like metal ring on the Thri-Kreen that's holding all the straps together as well. So I'm just being careful. I'm going in there first because I try to get all the hard detail stuff out of the way quickly and then move on to the easier stuff a little bit later on. It's just so I can worry about that stress a little bit later. But just being as careful as I can, going in there and just painting up all those little details, and then afterwards it's not a big worry to come in and just paint up those big bits of the blades. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is we're going to move on now with a jungle green, which is a super bright, vibrant green, and we're going to be using this to paint in our Thri-Kreen's eyes because I love the depiction that they have in the artwork where they have super bright eyes, brightly green coloured eyes, so that's what I'm going for, and this jungle green is a really good match for that. But now what I'm doing is I'm just coming in with a very sharp point on the end of my brush and just a little dollop of paint on there, and I'm just trying to, as I can, place it on and move it around just within that eye socket that's sculpted in there. It'll be quite difficult, but I know you'll be able to get it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use desert yellow, and we're going to be using this desert yellow to paint the bottom of the base of the Thri-Kreen. So just around here, trying to avoid his feet and stuff. Now what I didn't mention before, which I don't know if I did or not, is I painted just the very tips of the bottom of the Thri-Kreen's feet in that khaki colour that we painted all our claws in as well. So now with that done, we've done all our base layers and painting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come in with washes, and we're going to start off with Seraphim Sepia, and we're going to be using the Seraphim Sepia to cover the Thri-Kreen's chitin armour and little bits of the fingernails and stuff, the places we painted in khaki I should say, and we want just a nice good coverage with our Seraphim Sepia, trying to cover the whole thing and get a nice good layer on there with shadows. Now remember, if it pulls up a little bit too much, you can just come in with your brush with no wash on it, dab it on there, and it'll suck up all that wash, excess wash that you have on there as well. So don't forget about that while you're going over it with it as well. Okay, so once that Seraphim Sepia is dry, what we're going to do is we're going to come in now with nuln oil, and we're going to be using the nuln oils to go over all our metal pieces like I usually do in my videos, because I really like the effect that nuln oil has on metallic paints. I just really like the deep shadows it gives off and the slight tint of the colour that it gives to metal areas. So just being nice and liberal with it and really trying to get as much of that wash on there as you can, and then if it's pulling up like you can see here on some of these edges where it's really starting to pull up quite a bit, I just come back in with my brush, dab it on there, and it sucks up all that wash. Okay, so once all that wash is dry, we're going to move on with our last wash now, and we're going to be using agrax earthshade, and we're going to be using the agrax earthshade to just cover the base that we're painted with our desert yellow, and we're going to be just going over that on there. So it's a nice quick step to just go over there and give a bit more depth of colour and highlight all those shadowy bits on the base. So once we have all that completed, what we're going to do is we're going to come back with some lava orange now, and we're going to be using the lava orange to just be painting on the edges of our Thri-Kreen. So all the nice sharp chitin bits where they sort of meet each other, or they're standing up really close to the sun like you can see here. I want to try and get just a little bit on top of the Thri-Kreen's face. He has sort of like eyebrows, so I'm just trying to get hit those with a bit of paint, because we want to have some nice highlights on this piece, since it has so many hard edges and angles. So just going all around the miniature, trying to pick out all the raised spots. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is we're going to come back in with our jungle green, and we're going to be just putting a little bit of paint on our paintbrush, and we're going to try and just hit the center of it with that jungle green, which is going to make the eyes pops back out again, and they're going to be nice and bright. And maybe a little bit hard to see here with the camera. I'm trying to get it in focus as much as I can while I'm painting, but it's really just going to make the eyes pop a lot more since we've had that wash on there, and it's going to be very glowy. Okay, so now what I've done is I've glued the miniature to the base, and I'm coming in with desert yellow, and what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm just going to be painting the base itself yellow. I'm just trying to get this desert yellow on here as sort of roughly as thick as I possibly can, trying to really cover up all that dark black color of the base, and you'll see why in the next step why we're painting the base like this. Okay, so once all that desert yellow is on there and painted up, we're going to come back in with our agrax earthshade, just like we did with the base, and we're going to be just applying a bunch of that on there to dull that color down and add in some shadows and stuff on there where the paint isn't even, just to give it a little bit of texture on there. I know it seems a little bit weird at the moment, but you'll see what we're trying to go for. Okay, so now what we're going to do, once we've got all that dried up and done, is we're going to come in now with some AGRELLAN Earth, which is a CITADEL texture paint, which when we apply it on here, and we're going to apply it over the whole base, our base that was already sculpted onto the miniature, as well as the actual base itself we just painted up, and we're going to apply this really quite thick, because what the AGRELLAN Earth does, it's a technical paint and a texture that when it dries, it actually cracks and makes all these cracked little shapes in the paint. And what I'm going for here is sort of like a dried desert land sometimes that you see where there used to be moisture and stuff, and the desert just dried it up and cracked all the earth. And with that, our Thri-Kreen miniature from Dungeons & Dragons is now complete. And you can see it's come out really nice just by adding in a few things like the AGRELLAN Earth texture that we've gotten from the Citadel paint, as well as just putting in those little details like the metal ring on its back, and as well as on its chest, separating out from just all the brown on there, and just adding in all those little bits and pieces, while I was just doing the highlights and adding in the little drop of green to the eye again, makes it really pop straight back out. It just added in a whole bunch of awesome detail to really make our miniature pop. But with that, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'd subscribe, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.